with our meeting. We'll reward the people who got here on time. And we're live. Thank you. Hi. Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, the 23rd of February, and this is the delegation meeting with the Baltimore County House delegation. We have a couple of items of business later, but we're pleased to have I like to think of him as the speaker, if you don't mind, but Senator Ben Cardin is with us this morning. He's going to give us, we've sent him a few questions, and he's going to talk about some things that maybe he wants to talk about those or whatever he wants to talk about. And then we'll have a little time to ask him a few questions. So Senator Cardin, the floor is yours.
Well, Eric, first of all, thank you for the hospitality. Thank you for allowing me to come before the delegation. I look forward to when this can be more in person. I've been to the floor at least once this year. I hope to get back before you adjourn. As I told the speaker, my fondest days in public service were in the Maryland House of Delegates, and the greatest honor I ever had was being Speaker of the Maryland House. So it's with great fondness. And I try to get to all the delegations. I know you're doing it virtually this year, but Baltimore County is special because it's where I live. It's my delegation. And I want to thank Shelley and John and Dana for the outstanding representation I get in the Maryland General Assembly. I also want to just underscore Team Maryland. We work together as a team. I work very, very closely with Senator Van Hollen. We review every single appropriation issue together and try to leverage our positions so we can get more for Maryland and more for Baltimore County. And we work very closely with Dutch Ruppersberger and Kwesi Mfume and the entire federal delegation. Work closely with the county exec, Johnny Oshesky, and his team. So it really is Team Maryland. And as a result, we're able to leverage more for the state and more for the county. We are still in FY24. We have not completed the FY24 budget, as challenging as that might be for you all, because you would like to know what the FY25 budget is going to look like. We haven't even started with the FY25 budget. We hope to finish the FY24 budget within the next month. Probably will not be in time for you to deal with the budget issues that you're dealing with. And that's just unfortunate. It's important that we get a full year appropriation bill done. And we are working, we have the top line numbers, an agreement between House and Senate. So it is likely we will get the appropriation bills done within the next 4 to 6 weeks. We'll then start the FY25 budget. These budgets are tight, not like the budgets we had during COVID, which were very, very strong in helping local government. We got through COVID. The economic indicators today are actually exceeding our predictions pre-COVID as to where we would be now. So the economic indicators are very, very strong. The economy is very strong. But you would not know it knowing how middle-income families are struggling. So I don't want to minimize the challenges we have for middle-income families. We are looking at a tax bill. The tax bill would extend the child tax credits to get children out of poverty. It's one of our top priorities. But included in that is a major expansion of affordable housing with the low-income housing tax credits. I mention that because one of the real challenges we have in Baltimore County and in the state of Maryland is affordable housing. So we're in crisis. So it is one of the top priorities we have is to provide a stronger federal partnership for affordable housing. If you're trying to put together an affordable housing opportunity in Baltimore County, there isn't one tool that makes that affordable. You have to use the low-income housing tax credits, the historic tax credits, maybe new market tax credits, maybe some nonprofit support, all of the above in order to get that done. So we're working very closely on that issue. We are implementing President Biden's agenda, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act dealing with climate issues, the Safer Communities, the CHIPS and Science bill. All those bills we're implementing. Baltimore County has received substantial support on transportation programs. We can go through some of the specifics. Most recent, we were able to get the light rail cars, federal grant for over $200 million for the light rail system. We had the red line we're working on, which affects people in Baltimore County. We have several transportation projects that we've been able to get funded that were the priority of Johnny Oshesky and the Baltimore County team. Earmarks are back, as I think some of you know. Baltimore County has received several earmarks in the last 2 fiscal years and in this fiscal year. Again, we work together as a team. So Dutch and Kwaizi, Chris and myself will review all the earmark requests. We leverage it so we can get the most. So you'll see that we have earmarks from Foley's Quarters to Pikesville to Sparrows Point to the Liberty Food Bank, food pantry, to so many different issues to help the people of Baltimore County through the earmark process. We are starting the next process for FY25 now. We had an informational meeting on that. Several hundred people inquired, and our office is available to help you. You know, my eyes and ears in Baltimore County, Jerome Stevens has been an incredible service to me. I thank him very much for his help. Carlton Atkinson, my state director, all are there to serve you. So, Mr. Chairman, I could talk a lot about foreign policy. I'm embedded in foreign policy as chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Just got back from the Munich Security Conference, in which we were dealing with the Ukraine supplemental that passed the Senate that we need to get passed in the House of Representatives. We have a crisis in the Middle East. We have the challenges of the People's Republic of China. So I'm more than happy to talk about any of those issues, but it is a reprieve for me to be able to talk to my county officials to talk about local issues. So why don't I pause there and be pleased to answer any question you might have as to what's happening in the United States Senate or any other issue that might be on your mind. Again, it's a real pleasure to represent you. I really thank you for your cooperation. This will be my 58th year in public service, and I must tell you, it's been a real honor, so thank you.
Yeah, you beat me to the question that I was going to ask you. How long have you been in public service? 58 years. And as it winds down here for you, we're certainly going to miss you. And thank you for coming on board. We did send a couple of questions along, and I don't know if you have them in front of you, but the people who sent them can pose them. I believe we had questions along the lines of some of the implications of the death of Mr. Navalny in Russia, what we think the implications of that might be. I know we're taking you international. You'd love to talk about Baltimore County here. Also, just questions about balancing aid to both Israel and to the Ukraine.
Sure.
So if you would like to talk about those, I'm sure it's front of mind. Where, I think looking across the world, we're at a very tenuous time right now, because there's a lot of conflict, and a lot of it is being forwarded by what I would say are authoritarian governments. And so I don't know if you want to weigh in on that or not.
Well, the world is taking sides, whether you're for democracy or for autocratic regimes. We see those that are helping Russia. It's PRC, the People's Republic of China. It's North Korea. It's Iran. They're the countries that are lining up in support of Russia. They're also supporters of terrorism in the Middle East, and they're also raising serious concerns as to whether the future of Taiwan will be decided by military intervention or not. So we find the world is really divided. Right now, the front line is clearly Ukraine. The most urgent need right now is to make sure Ukraine wins its war against the aggression of Russia. Russia will not stop with Ukraine. One of my major regrets is that we don't teach history. People don't know what has happened before. Go back to the 1930s. We've seen this playbook before. Russia will continue its aggression into Moldova, into Georgia. They already have troops in those countries. And then it will be the Baltic states, and then we're at war because of NATO. So this is really the front line, and we need to make sure they have what they need to defend themselves. It's been over 2 years, and Ukraine has held back the mighty Russian army. They'll win this war if they get the support that they need from the United States and our allies. And our allies contribute collectively more than we do. We're the largest single donor, but collectively, Europe contributes more than the United States does. So we need to get this supplemental done. The most urgent part of it is clearly Ukraine. Ukraine is the urgent need. Navalny's murder, or Navalny's death, Certainly, Mr. Putin is responsible for his death. We don't know exact circumstances surrounding his death, but it just shows the brutality of Mr. Putin. He's a thug, and he'll rule as a thug. He's got to be stopped. And I met with Mr. Navalny's spouse in Munich. We had a chance to talk. The cause will continue. The people of Russia want freedom. And Mr. Navalny was the symbol of that. In the Middle East, it's a tragic circumstances. I'm not going to go back to what happened on October 7th. I was in the Middle East shortly thereafter. I saw the brutality firsthand. Israel has an absolute right to defend itself. But this campaign has caused so much challenges, particularly for the Palestinians and the Israelis. There's no future for the Palestinians or the Israelis with Hamas. They must be destroyed. But we also need to recognize that we have to get humanitarian assistance to the innocent people in this conflict. And we have to find a path forward, get the hostages returned, and to move forward with peace in the Middle East between the Israelis and the Palestinians, with two states living side by side in peace. So I am at the table negotiating that. We made some progress in the last 7 days. We hope that the current offers will lead to a pause so that we can get to the next level. We have the interest of many states in the region to help of the people of Gaza after this conflict after the war itself ends. So there is a prospect for peace in the Middle East, but we have to take advantage of it. What was your other question? Did I miss one?
I think those were the two. I think we talked about Navalny's death. Someone had sent a question about that, and also just generally the conflicts that are up around the world, and particularly what's happening, in Israel and Gaza, as well as what's happening in Russia. And
the most important thing,
not really happening in Russia, in Ukraine. Yeah. So
yeah. Most important thing in the Middle East right now is to get this pause that will allow the hostages to be released, that will allow us to go to the next chapter, that will be able to get the humanitarian assistance in, start rebuilding Gaza, and to bring in a new authority that will respect Israel's security and the rights of the Palestinians. And that's what we're working on.
Thank you. I'll open up the floor if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask the senator that go beyond those two. By the way, I will say, you're in the last year here, and it's great to hear you're still fully on point, that there's no lame duck stuff going on here. And it's great to know that you're still at the helm and pulling hard. Do we have any questions? We're all kind of worn out this week. Like I said, the rubber really hit the road this week. So we've all been really at it very hard. But I do see a hand, and it is the inimitable Delegate Naraki. Please, sir. Just give him a second. I think he's working on unmuting there.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chair.
You did it. You did it.
Okay, now my video stopped.
Well, yeah.
There we go.
Look at that. You're batting 1,000 all of a sudden again. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize. Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. We really appreciate your work on many different things. I don't want to speak for the delegation, but I want to thank you for your work, sort of on behalf of the delegation, with the A10 warthog issue in Martin State. That's in my district. I appreciate all that you're doing on that. I was just curious if you had any updates maybe that you could give us on that, where we are with preserving that flying mission there for the National Guard here in Maryland.
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. I've had several meetings with the Secretary of the Air Force in regards to the flight mission of the Maryland National Guard. Our delegation is laser focused on maintaining the flight capacity of the Maryland National Guard, working very closely with Dutch Ruppersberger. He's been the champion in the House, and Senator Van Hollen and myself in the Senate, and with the Moore administration. They've been engaged also. To say we started in a very bad situation where the Air Force had made the decision that they were going to eliminate the Maryland National Guard air mission with the retirement of the A-10s. We have now changed their focus. We will get, we think, the cyber command for the Maryland National Guard, which is important, but it cannot be exclusive of a flight mission. So we are looking at a couple options that will be able to maintain the flight pilot capacity of the Maryland National Guard. There are about 3 or 4 viable options for us to be able to maintain that. We are working with the administration, with the DOD to have it done cooperatively. If we can't get it cooperatively, we're looking for provisions in the appropriation bills that would maintain the flight mission for the Maryland National Guard. We're not going to give up on this. It's too important.
And thank you for that. We actually had them brief this delegation because obviously this delegation in particular is very interested in it since Martin Airport and its facilities exist in Baltimore County.
And Martin's, as you know, Martin's is under modernization and renovations that will give it even greater capacity moving forward. It's one of the busiest airports we have in Maryland. It gives us unique capacity. Our location is critically important. All of the above indicate that we have to make sure we don't lose that capacity. We recognize the A-10s are being transitioned out. We know that. But there are other flight missions that we can participate in, and we believe in leveling to make sure that every capacity is maintained, knowing the risk factors we have around the world.
Thank you. And I see another hand up. For a moment there were 2 delegate Iraqis. Now there's just one again. But I'm going to guess this is either a follow-up from you or a question from Delegate Szeliga. Either one of you, please.
Sorry, sir. My computer died. I'm going to try to get it back up and running.
Yeah, the frozen version of it was still on screen, and there you were. I was like, he's got a
it was weird. I did. I said, "There you are, Ryan." He said, "No, I'm not. I'm
amazing." That's how he gets so much work done. He's got a doppelganger, doesn't he? There you go.
Yeah, he's got a clone. Thank you, Senator Cardin, for your help with Martin State with the flying wing, and everyone here in the delegation sent a letter to the Secretary of the Air Force, and the Speaker and Senate President have been amazing and really incredibly helpful, and all of us joining together to do that. So we do really appreciate it. And again, let us know anything we can do to assist in your efforts. It is vitally important that we keep that flying wing, as you know, at Martin State.
Oh, absolutely. We are really laser focused on this. We've had, I think I've met with the Secretary of the Air Force 3 times now in person on this issue, which is unprecedented. And he recognizes that he has to find a solution for us. And as I said, it's always a team effort. We work together with Dutch and with Chris, and we leverage our positions on the Appropriations Committee, and we're doing everything we can. We started from a position where they had terminated us. So it was an uphill battle from the beginning, but I think we're making significant progress.
Well, thank you. And I know Congressman Rupersberger and Harris have both also been helpful. So anything we can do, let us know. And thank you so much.
And thank you, Delegate Szeliga. I don't see any other hands up. You must be very good at your job there, Senator, because everyone's feeling relaxed around you today. And unless you feel like there's something else you'd like to add, I think as a group, we can all hold our hands up and applaud you, because this is our last chance to get you in this setting and say what a wonderful job you've done and how grateful we are for the service you provide. And this is Delegate Phillips's jam. I got to tell you, just when I think I'm getting the conclusion, his hand flies up. And I love Delegate Phillips. So you got the floor there, Delegate.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to Senator Cardin. And I know all of us have a special relationship with Senator Cardin. I happen to worship in what was previously the synagogue that he grew up in. And Senator Cardin, I just want to thank you for all that you've done, not only in Baltimore County, but also for the work that I'm involved in Baltimore City with Wayland Baptist Church. I see Jerome on the line as well. You've been a real stalwart, and leveraging the earmarks has really made a difference. So as you move on, just know that we really, really appreciate all the work that you've done for our communities. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you for those comments, and thank you for recognizing Reverend Stevens. He's been incredible in pointing out where we need to invest our discretionary funds in order to help communities that have for too long been left behind. And I thank Reverend Stevens for the incredible service he has been to the state of Maryland in providing opportunities that otherwise would not be there. So And Wayland Baptist is a special place for me. So it's always good to have that conversation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate, for the exclamation point on the accolades. I'm happy to see Reverend Stevens here too, and we all know, and you know that you're only as good as your staff members, and so there he is. He's been great to work with in setting all this up, and so you got a good one there, no question about it. With that, unless you have any final remarks, Senator, I think we're going to move on to our regular business, and you're welcome to hang out for that, but I don't think it'll be quite as exciting as this part. So.
Well, thank you all for allowing me to be here. And again, more importantly, thank you for your public service. It's I'm very well represented in Baltimore County, and I still have, I point out, 10.5 months. So I still have a lot more time, and a lot more things I hope to be able to do together with you all. Again, thanks.
We feel you finishing strong. Thank you, sir. All right, with that, we have only 2 pieces of business in voting today. We'll be voting on House Bill 495 and House Bill 1213. I think we'll start with House Bill 1213 as the report is pretty straightforward and we can be sure and power through that. And for that, I see the chair of the Public Safety Subcommittee, Delegate Cardin. You're in photograph now. I'm hoping you're listening in. I'd love to get a report from the subcommittee if I could. So I'm a little concerned because I just have a photo of him and not a picture. I'm going to give it 5 seconds. And he did warn me he might have trouble being here on time, so we will shift our agenda. And now we will instead take up House Bill 495, which are adjustments to the Baltimore County School Board Nominating Commission procedures. And for that, I will go to the chair of the Education Subcommittee, Delegate Ford. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Education Subcommittee met this week to consider this bill and the amendments. We voted unanimously to move the bill forward with the amendments. And I will take just a minute, if you'll allow me, to go through what the bill does now and why we think it's important. So Delegate Pastor brought this bill to bring more transparency to the school board nominating process. Currently, our school board in Baltimore County has 7 elected members who are elected at each councilmatic district, and there are 4 appointed members. Those 4 appointed members are chosen by the governor, but they're chosen by names that come through the school board nominating commission. The nominating commission was created when the hybrid school board was created, and it includes 19 members. There's a member from each of our legislative districts that are in Baltimore County, whole or part. And then there's a variety of community stakeholders, including, and I'm not going to read them all, but I'll give you just a taste of them. The Teachers Association of Baltimore County, the Baltimore County Chamber of Commerce, the PTA Council of Baltimore County, League of Women Voters, the Baltimore County branch of the NAACP, the Baltimore County Student Councils, Towson University. It's a wide variety of community stakeholders who come together to review the applications. And for each open position on the school board, they send 2 names to the governor for him to choose. So there were some concerns that there wasn't a public process going on, and the public didn't know what the nominating commission was contemplating. So this bill was brought forward, but we're balancing in this thing the community's need to know and transparency with the fact that this is a personnel matter and a gubernatorial appointment, interviews for a gubernatorial appointment. And fortunately, some of the problems we encounter aren't new. When I talked with Sandy Brantley about this bill, she had a memo from when Anne Arundel County's nominating commission had the same problem. And that memo should be in the Google Drive for everyone. I sent it over to Justin yesterday. So we've amended the bill using that Attorney General's memo as a guideline. And here are the changes it makes. After the applications are submitted, the nominating commission will put the names in a brief biography of everyone who's applying to be appointed to the school board. The the nominating commission will interview all the candidates that they choose to interview and will videotape that interview. But the videotape is for members of the commission. It's to be reviewed if they've missed the interviews, if they were unavailable the night of the interviews, and for them to clarify things when they're deliberating about which candidate to move forward. The next thing that it does is talks about how to remove a member of the nominating commission. That was an issue that has come up a couple of times. So we've codified what's in their bylaws, that a member continues to serve unless the member resigns, dies, or is removed by the member's appointing authority or by law. And then the final thing it does is once the nominating commission has chosen their names to move to the governor, to send to the governor, they'll post the names of the finalists. And so I would ask that, as I said, this bill passed through our education subcommittee unanimously, and I'm happy to take any questions or move the bill as amended.
Let's move the amendments first, if you would.
So move the amendments.
That's
Second.
correct. And we have a second. So now let's discuss the amendments if they're relevant. And then once if we get the amendments attached, we'll take up the bill. And I see Delegate Phillips has a question.
I'm sorry. And it's not a question. It's going to be a statement because this is personal and folks won't know that. About maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was asked to apply to the school board, which I did. And the whole process was so non-transparent, I didn't even know my name had actually been sent to the governor. I didn't know that there was another name that was sent to the governor. I didn't know that the list was, I guess, rejected or returned. And so this, to me, is something that we need to move forward. I just think it's only fair to allow it to be transparent to the public, because as the candidate, if I didn't know, I think that's problematic. So I just wanted to share that, Mr. Chair.
Very helpful to have the personal perspective on that. Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Forbes, he was pretty supportive, but did you want to respond to that in terms of the amendment, or is that we're just going to go with the commentary there?
I think he said an immense amount of words that say that this bill needs to move to add transparency to the process.
Okay, so we have an amendment before us, which adjusts it slightly as described. I'm going to do this by show of hands. All those in favor of adding the amendment to the bill, put your hand up in the air, kind of like this. Any opposed? You can, if I don't see, you can put your little Zoom hand up. Seeing none. Oh, I have one opposed. Excuse me. Speaker Jones is opposed to the amendment. Anyone else?
She's not opposed to the amendment.
That's what's.
No, I thought you said if you for the amendment, you raise your hand.
No, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm coming through slowly. So no, we don't have a no. Okay, we have, for the record, that's one more time. Let's say this clearly. The amendment passes unanimously. All right. Now we have the bill before us. I need a motion on the bill as amended.
Move the bill as amendment.
Okay, I have
Second.
a motion, and I properly seconded by Delegate Phillips. Is there any further discussion on this bill? All right, I'm feeling a good groundswell. We might not need to spend time doing a roll call here. So what I'm going to say is all those in favor. Well, first of all, is there any further comment or question? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the bill as amended, hand in the air like this. Quickly, please, Speaker, if you don't mind. Thank you.
I did that before.
Sorry, I missed it. And any opposed at this point? I don't know how. There's my hand up, and I don't know why. And any opposed? All right. So the bill carries unanimously as amended, and we will send that bill on to committee with the proper amendments for consideration.
And Mr. Chair,
yes,
may I
ma'am.
please thank our council, Charity Scott, for her work on the amendments. She was really, really terrific to work with.
You know, we don't
Very
have
thorough, and I really appreciated her.
We don't have enough of those thanks to go around for her. She has been dogged in making sure that things are ready for us. And we had some bills that had quite a number of amendments, and this one had an amendment that needed some real work. And Well, as I said at the beginning, at the top, at the very first meeting, I think we got a gold standard here. So we're in good shape. And yes, echoing your comments. All right, the only other bill we have, and we'll see if we've got it. If we don't have a subcommittee chair, I will ex officio act as that. But let's see if Delegate Cardin is here to make a report on the Baltimore County Sheriff's salary bill. He is not responding. So he has told me as chair and I was actually part of the committee, that the subcommittee on public safety approved the Baltimore County Sheriff's salary change as presented without amendment. And so with that, I will move as the committee chair. I will move the bill I will move the bill. Excuse me.
Second.
And we have a second. Okay. So is there any further discussion on this bill? Yes, Delegate Szeliga.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you read or tell us a brief description of what this bill does?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go, since I have not studied this hard and our subcommittee chair is not here. I will go to, first of all, county, because there were some discussions about possibly altering it. So Jenny Osa, are you ramped up to be able to tell us what this is doing, please?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Mr.
Without preamble, I went to you. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to speak to this. So Baltimore County undertook a detailed study of all of the elected and appointed employees of the county, which included elected officials, including our council, our sheriff, et cetera, to look at their current pay bands, to benchmark against other counties. And one of the things that came out of this study that was addressed by a council bill was that our sheriff has been paid at an unreasonably low rate without a raise for about the last 14 years. And he's basically been the lowest paid sheriff among similar counties in terms of size and population. And so what this bill would do is simply raise the sheriff's compensation to the minimum of the range that our compensation consultants recommended based on this benchmarking, and then over 5 years provide modest increases that will allow our sheriff to be more fairly and equitably compensated.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I apologize for being tardy.
Yes, we've already moved the bill, so thank you. I spoke for you as the chair here.
Thank you. I know I got you information. I just want to say that it was based on everybody in our subcommittee. It was unanimous, and we look forward to keeping our sheriff commensurate with the other sheriffs around the state.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see a couple other hands up. Delegate Naraki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe my vice chair has some other pertinent information I think is useful for all of us to consider. Delegate Cardin, would you be able to kind of share some of that information you shared with me this morning?
You're muted.
So yes. So number one, thank you. We did look into whether we wanted to graduate this differently, and we spoke with counsel, who first of all indicated, as did Ms. Ayosa, indicated that it is already graduated, as she just, I think, explained, by about $5,000 a year. And the initial bump is really to make us look and be somewhat commensurate with our surrounding areas, so that we're at least within a 20% grade of where everybody else is, even though we're still going to be low. So the idea is that we're trying to both do this gradually so that it doesn't take a huge burden on the budget, but at the same time do what we can to make our sheriff be treated with dignity, respect, and equality.
Delegate Cardin, if I may, that first year is also, the big bump is covered by Baltimore County. Isn't that correct, Delegate?
So the budget, the entire budget, I believe, is Baltimore County's budget.
Yes, this is a mandate,
Not-
this is a
I
mandate on
misspoke,
Baltimore
sorry.
County.
Yes, sorry.
Right. And normally when we have a mandate on Baltimore County, it either comes from Baltimore County or we ask Baltimore County if they think this is something that will fit into their budgets. Not that we couldn't do that, but we don't because we work cooperatively with county budget and county government. So yeah, the county is going to assume all of this, these changes. That's correct, isn't it, Ms. Aosa? Yes, thank you. Delegate Mangione.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for explaining the bill. And I do think I agree that the sheriff should be making more based on what I was reading here. And it seems that making him in line obviously makes sense and all the good work that a sheriff would do for its county. My only concern is making sure this doesn't happen again, because on paper, although I do understand the numbers, but on paper, when you go from 90,000 to 157,000 in 5 years, I mean, that's almost $70,000. It makes it seem like that's an awfully lot of money in the raise. I just want to make sure whatever the mechanism that doesn't happen again, where it's like 14 years. So, it's just something that I can see why people might say like, that's quite a big raise, but then they don't realize unless you start explaining it's been 14 years. So I'm just curious as to why it would take 14 years for him to get a raise. And if this is the process, how do we make sure it doesn't happen again? So thank you. If anybody knows the answer to that.
Off the cuff, I would say it's our fault. Okay. We haven't been paying attention, and neither is county government. We've let it slide. So since it's your concern, I would count on you to keep an eye on things. You're going to be around for a while, I hope. So yeah, let's keep going.
I get the answer, and thanks for letting me know.
Sure. Delegate Cardin, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? You're muted. Unmute.
I know. Thanks. Only to say that I don't know if we want to relinquish our authority to be able to do this in the future. So I think that maybe we keep notice of it, and it's something we pay attention to. But I don't think we want to change the law to take away our authority. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any other hands up, and the comments have only been that we should do better. Not that we shouldn't do this. And so I'm going to again assume that we can do this without a roll call. The bill is presented and has been moved and seconded as submitted. And so all in favor of this bill, House Bill 1213, please raise your hands. Is there anybody who would like to vote in opposition to this bill? Seeing none, this also carries unanimously. We will forward it on to the proper committee with a letter and the vote count for them to consider and hopefully send forward. There's not a precedent-setting concept, so it should be good. We're now at the end of our business. I will give a minute. Does anyone have anything they would like to say for the good of the order? Delegate Shalega.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering, we discussed briefly that the Baltimore County delegation does not have any rules or bylaws that we're operating under, which was shocking to you and me and others. So have you thought about how we'll move forward to rectify that situation?
Yeah, well, we are collecting other delegations that have rules to take a look at them and see what we think is there that might be useful to us. Anyone can do that. That information is available. You can take a look if you like also. I will tell you that I now have a copy of Mason's on my desk. Okay, so for that at least, and we operate under that by default. So that at least we know. But as far as the other one goes, I think we're going to move deliberately on that. And thank you for asking.
So potentially, are you thinking about putting together a work group in the interim? I mean, obviously, we're all treading water during session, but perhaps in the interim, some kind of work group, or may I suggest that some kind of work group be put together to look at that and formulate something we can have presented to the delegation next year maybe in our December meeting, because generally we have gotten together in December before.
Yeah, no, thank you. Take it under consideration. We're in the first stage of that right now. So thanks a lot. Anybody else for the good of the order? Anybody else have any questions or things that they want to highlight? I will highlight, because I'm just happen to have the floor, that District 44 has a district night on Monday night. So anyone who wants to come over to the Maryland Inn and hang out with my good colleagues, Delegate Ruth and Delegate McCaskill, and also there's a senator involved, but I don't remember his name. You're welcome to come over and join us. I think I don't have the time, so I'm going to turn Delegate McCaskill. I think is it 6 o'clock? Is that when we start?
6 to 8, yes.
6 to 8. And she's done, both of my colleagues here have done yeoman's work, and Delegate McCaskill has really been a great lead on this for us. So I appreciate their work. Anyone else? All right, with that, look at us, 9:45, and we're out. Thank you all very much. See you in a little over an hour on the floor. We are adjourned.